We just started here. Welcome. We'll get to the show in a second. And already somebody wants Casey DeSmith to be voted as the new governor of Utah.
Yeah.
He kind of owns it.
2 wins,
Reasonable.
2 starts. I mean, he's got my vote. What do you say, Utah? Casey DeSmith in government? Well, let's find out. Luds, Sam, John, Owen, let's start the postgame show here on DLLS.
Tomahawk City.
That's a Zeppelin tune.
This is the DLS Dallas Stars postgame show. Back in the win column. After a modest 2-game losing streak, the Stars go into the holiday break on a good note as they beat the Utah Hockey Club. A final score of 3-2. Made it a little interesting. We'll talk about it. But this is what the Stars do. They beat the Coyotes. They've been doing it forever. And Utah, well, same thing. Craig Ludwig, Sam Nessler, John Anderson, our producer. I'm Owen Newkirk. John, say hello. Oh, there, he just waved.
I have to get up because I don't want the scoreboard covering Lutz's face.
Oh, he's got to make
Well,
give it a
the
better
scoreboard
shot.
that's
Giving
watching
Lutz a
would
hair-
probably like that.
Giving
to
you a
happen.
haircut right now, Lutz. So
Okay.
I'm gonna have to widen that shot a little.
I
So
want-
I'm gonna
You
do
got
the
some
old cut
great
to
lettuce
Owen
on
and then
you.
edit the other
Cut to
shot
Owen.
so no one
Salad
else
is what you prefer? Okay.
Quick heads up here. We are going to do a little Matt Rempe suspension talk during our second segment because we didn't have time to do it in the pregame show, and we didn't know he was going to be suspended for sure, or for how long, I guess. We knew he was going to get suspended the other night, Friday night against the Rangers. So we're going to talk about that. But right now, let's go through a pretty rapid recap as the Stars got out to a lead, Luds, because one of the best players in the game was Colin Blackwell, and he opened the scoring back in the first period, 11:02. He got him going.
I like the little play right at center ice. He gets the puck. He's facing the wrong direction. He's facing towards his own net. Just kind of pops it between his legs. It allows him to kind of turn around. He knows where the puck is. And then the second part of it, you know how many skilled players would go down and try to make a little pass through there? I think what Blackwell just reads it, and the defenseman gives him enough and gives him enough space. Basically telling the goaltender, I'm not letting the pass come across. But when he roofs it, great shot.
Yeah.
He set the tone to the game.
He did, and he had a ton of scoring chances tonight. Finished by my count with, let's see, where is he? I know he's diminutive. There he is. He's three good chances tonight. That was his first one, made it 1-0. Unfortunately, Sam, the Utah Hockey Club answered less than 2 minutes later. Kevin Stenlund, just a load of a guy in front of the net, scores on a tip play, less than 2 minutes and 39 seconds apart, 1-1.
Utah does a lot of this, similar to Washington. They score a lot of goals with just putting the puck to the net and putting bodies in front. It's something that I think that a certain team in Big D could do a lot more of, but that's just a big body. He just parks himself there. Roopehintz has no chance. And Roopehintz is a big dude too, big, strong, physical forward, playing a little man-to-man down by his net, I believe.
Yeah, I was going to say, why is Roopehintz the guy in front of the net?
Yes.
Because he's tall and solid. That's maybe
no,
that.
and that's not the answer.
Well, that's
the answer because there's
man to
defensemen
man.
on one
Oh,
side of
you're
the
talking
ice
about
and the other
defenseman
defenseman on
man,
the other
yeah.
side of the
Yeah.
ice.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a good, strong play, good tip too. That's tough to defend in front of the net, but I love the simple hockey.
See, for some reason, when I
eating
heard
that
you
thing.
say why is he in front of the net, I'm thinking net front on the offensive
Other
side.
end.
Completely lost.
You're the
plot.
one leading the charge
Well,
here. You know
let's
what
get-
goal we're talking about,
I
right?
do.
We're going
Apparently
in trouble
not.
here.
Well, it's because I was looking at the first period, Luds, and the Stars had the Blackwell chance was their only high danger by my count. And Casey DeSmith was good. And a team that played yesterday, Utah, a lot of times you'll see that the tired team musters a pretty good effort in the opening period. That's not a surprise. It's later on where they start to fall apart. Valimaki had a great chance on a block shot on a backhander early. That was when it was 0-0. And then Matias Michelli had a one-timer mid-slot on a 3-on-2. I thought those were two fantastic saves by Casey DeSmith in the first period.
Yeah, I think Casey gave the guys chance to get their game together. He allowed them to hang around. He made a lot of big saves, I thought, important saves in that first period.
Then you go to the second period, and it's two more. I mean, right out of the gate. First, it was Clayton Keller, point blank. Hayton had this really
Sick.
clever little back heel, I called it, because it's like a soccer play.
Sick.
Where what did he do? Step on the puck and flick it out in front.
His
And
toe.
DeSmith made a really great save. And then Carcone had a slap shot in the mid slot. And again, DeSmith was big there. Look, that's 4 high dangers that he stopped when it was either 0-0 or 1-1.
DeSmith, for me, make the saves is obviously the biggest part, but he has been calm every single time he's been in the net. And I really think, like Lud said, it gives the guys a chance to kind of take a deep breath and say, let's play our game. Because it's not just that he's making the saves. He just looks so in control whenever he plays.
Isn't it very reminiscent of the game that he won in there 2-1 over a month ago? I mean, he had to make saves. He had to make big timely saves, and he did the same thing in the first part of the game here.
The difference is that in 3 weeks ago, the Stars played the night before or the afternoon before, then flew to Utah, and they were the tired team. So he kind of did have to put them on their shoulders and carry them through some fatigue. Tonight, they were the rested team, and they were, again, maybe it's the Utah style. Maybe it's not so much of the circumstances, just that they like to get up and go. They don't mind trading chances, so your goalie's got to be good.
Yeah.
I think you typically see that from a team that plays the night before. Is their first half a period, they believe that they can get off on the right foot, and no, we're not going to fall into the trap where we think we're tired, even if we are. It doesn't creep in, but there's a couple guys in the second period that, and we'll talk about the jamiebenn goal, but that allowed it to not creep in but sink in.
Well, it was a big moment because those early saves, then after that, it was all Stars. High danger chances for Jason Robertson, Miro Haskin, and Thomas Harley on a delayed penalty, Robertson on the power play, Dodonov hit the crossbar. I mean, they are just peppering I want to say Golden Knights for some reason, the Utah Hockey Club, the yet-to-be-named Utah Hockey Club.
The Yeti.
And then, I hope it is. And then roopehintz scores. Great setup by Maverick Bourque. And Luddy, this is where Roope does do a lot of damage. It's arriving at the mid to low slot with pace, getting the puck, and he can get it off his stick quickly and elevate. And when he does, he usually scores.
When they enter the zone on the right-hand side and Bourque is ahead of him, Roope could have just gotten tied up by the player that was pushing him to the wall, and he doesn't accept it. And that's what actually created a little bit of a separation when by the time Bourque got the puck, Roope kept his feet going. He fought through that little tie-up on the wall and got himself into a perfect spot. All Bourque had to do was lay it out there for him, and he does what he normally does. He gets it off his stick, and he goes up high with it.
You know what's a good thing for Bourque there? We talked about that's the kind of play that Maverick Bourque makes. The 200-foot player, he hustles to a puck, helps win a battle. But the impressive part there is that Bourque, when he wasn't confident and he was really struggling with his game, he would have maybe not gone and gotten that puck. He probably thinks Roope is going to get there. He tries to go to the slot. That play probably doesn't happen. Instead, he demands it. He goes to it, allows Roope to swing in behind him, and it leads to a wide open shot.
I also think that what Bourque does, being a high-end offensive guy, he knows where Hintz is in relationship to the goaltender, that he has to put it a little bit ahead of him so that he can one-time it and get it upstairs, because he knows where a goal scorer and an offensive guy wants the puck, so he puts it in the perfect spot for him.
So at that point, the Stars have the lead. They kill off a Utah power play. In my head, I still want to call them the Coyotes. And then late in the period, jamiebenn scores on a really nice setup play from Wyatt Johnston in the trapezoid. It's Benn's 7th of the year. It's with 2:10 to go in the second. And that 3-1 lead felt like it was going to be, it would turn out to be the game-winning goal. But at that point, I thought the Stars were just going to tack one on and pull it away. It was a really nice finish by the captain.
Well, the seas parted for him. I mean, Sergachev is following Wyatt behind the net, and he goes a little too far. He can't get back. Valimaki just kind of plays man-on-man, and he pulls himself out of the middle. Jamie comes in the perfect spot and buries it. To me, this is the goal when there's a couple minutes left in the period in that?
Yep, 2:10.
That's the goal that made it a 2-goal lead for Dallas. That's when the Utah team, if there would have been a 1-goal lead, they could have gone into the locker room and thought, you know what, we're still in this thing.
One-shot game.
And mentally, you think you're still there. When that goal goes in, there's a total different change in your head, and all of a sudden, we played the night before, and this kind of stuff starts to creep in. I just think that was an important goal at that particular time.
I don't know if you guys saw. I saw it, but I didn't appreciate it as much. I was just rewatching that goal. Wyatt Johnston's move at the blue line. he's cutting to the inside, and the defender kind of goes inside with him, and he does that little backhand flip to the outside, completely beats him. I didn't really appreciate how nice that move was. That sets him up to wrap around and find Ben. So that's all Wyatt Johnston in that play.
Luddy, we've talked about this before, but Wayne Gretzky made a career of working in his office behind the net. What would you have preferred Sergachev do on that to try to defend?
Well,
Johnston?
I think what Sergachev needed to do there is realize that he wasn't going to catch Wyatt. As Wyatt starts getting to the net, he can't get him. And if he stops right there, now when he stops, he's stopping basically on the front of the net. He can turn around and he can actually be in the play a little bit. By thinking that he can catch Wyatt, he takes an extra step. Now when he puts the brakes on, the net's kind of in his way, and he can't do anything. So you kind of have to know. Well, I'm sure he knows that he's got speed, but I think you have to know when you got to like fight another day by going behind the net. You stay in front where the dangerous areas are, and it kind of hurt him.
Go to the third period. Stars get a power play, and really good look for Wyatt. Had a couple actually, but in between a bad play, they handcuff Miro. He loses it at the neutral zone, and Alexander Kerfoot has a breakaway shorthanded from the red line. And he gets to about the middle of the circles.
Pulled a Sam.
Just missed the puck and never got a shot off. And that was really important because if he scores on that, that's early in the third. You're within one, and you got the crowd going nuts. You know how big of a shorthanded goal momentum shifter is. And he just flat out forgot it.
See, now if he'd have done a Luds, the one time that Luds had the breakout, or coming out of the box from
the
breakaway,
The one against Anaheim.
should have just dumped it in, dump it in and change,
Chip
and
in
you
the
won't
corner.
you're not going to be making the highlight reel. He's going to make the highlight
bitch
reel.
about it into your 60s.
The low right.
Well, it was still mostly Stars. And halfway through the third period, the Utahns had nothing, right? No major chances, no high dangers. And then all of a sudden, as you get down to the final, well, it was past halfway point. 11:39 was the time. A face-off win, a block shot, a second effort, and it goes in off the stick of Barrett Hayton, a little tip-in goal. And both goals for Utah tonight were off net front tips. Hayton gets a seventh. It's 3-2. And all of a sudden, as Luds was saying, the tired Utah Hockey Club has a chance because one puck goes in and they're tied.
Young defenseman, watch this goal. It's the reason you're taught as a defenseman when a shot's coming in, you don't go over the top of a stick, you time it, and you get underneath the stick and you lift it up in the air. Miro kind of comes over the top of it, and he kind of fights it off a little bit. But I mean, if you kind of time it, and we talked about this a few times now with Miro, he has this habit where he always wants to go over it, and all you're really doing is you're pushing the stick down by the ice where you ultimately get some kind of a whack at it.
So because Miro's on top of his stick, he's able to lift it up because there's not as much resistance. Whereas if Miro's underneath it, he's able to flip that up. It's a lot harder to come back down to make that deflection, right?
And again, it's kind of a timing thing because if you lift it early, now he can wrestle with you. So you're kind of watching the shooter and stuff like that, and you almost wait to the last second. Kind of wait to the last second to get it up. But I think in general, Miro, we've talked about this. I think there was actually a goal in one of the Finland games where he comes down over the top all the time, and you leave that stick available for somebody. Not a lot of times, but it's just that as a defenseman, you're not trying to shoot it up high. You're trying to keep it down lower anyways, kind of shooting in
when
that
you
area.
said Finland, I'm pretty sure it was an Evan Rodriguez goal. Does that sound
was
familiar?
It. That's the one.
I assumed, and you didn't like the angle he took. You didn't like how much gap was there, and then obviously he's able to tip it in, and there you have it. All right,
Finland
so
trip.
3-2. You know what they didn't do though? They didn't give up a high danger chance when it was a 1-goal game. Couple of close calls, I guess, but look, Casey DeSmith was solid tonight. He gets a win. He hadn't started it in 3 weeks. Sam, you feeling pretty good about getting him back? Because remember, part of the reason why he didn't start for so long because he had the flu or some flu-like virus.
I've felt good about him. I think he had one pretty not good game. Other than that, I've really liked him when
The
he's played.
Chicago game?
Yeah. Other than that,
Yeah,
Chicago
that was
game,
ugly.
I've really
That was a
liked.
stinker.
I liked, but that was everybody, right? The whole team.
Yeah.
It's not like-
but it
it's not
started
like-
with him.
It did. You're right.
Because he gave up a first shot goal, then he turned the puck over
Right.
behind the net that led to a goal. All of a sudden, they're down 2-0 right away.
So if you're looking, he's played, I think, I want to say 8, 9 maybe at this point.
This is his 10th appearance, but he's had
Ninth.
2 reliefs, so
Yeah,
eighth start.
Okay. So 8th start, you're looking at one that's
4.
maybe bad. That's pretty good for what you
Yeah.
for a goalie, especially
4
the one
wins
that's
and
not
8.
playing
That has
very
to
often.
sit for a couple weeks
Yeah,
at a
he's
time.
not playing
for
at
sure.
all. He's getting in. He was sick, so I really feel good about Casey and how he I really like the way he plays the game versus just making the saves.
I do too. And the question is that because I was listening to them talk about the kid Askarov, who had a really good game for San Jose the other day, and going, the only thing about your backup, because you've lined him up for 3 years, does Casey DeSmith push Jake enough for your liking? When he's healthy, of course.
I don't know. He doesn't. But you know what? I don't think Jake is the kind of goalie that needs a push, to be honest with you. I just think that Casey knows the situation he's in, and Jake knows the situation he's in. You know, I was actually even kind of surprised that Jake didn't start this game because I thought you may want to get him in and leave him that, but obviously they made the right choice. And Jake gets now 4 days off or 5 or whatever it's going to be. But yeah, I don't think there's not a feeling anywhere here that Casey could steal his job.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the case.
Do you want that though?
Well, that was the question.
Yeah, you like him to put nice. You like him to push it, right? You want him to be
Everyone
there.
caught that, right?
Man of Steel.
No,
If
Lud said that's not the case.
If they
Casey. Oh, wow.
if they split, John, put
Yes.
yourself on camera.
Okay.
If they push themselves,
Are you asking me an actual hockey
I'm going to ask
question?
you a hockey question.
Okay.
nice.
Well,
And it's not a Boston Bruins question. So let's just say it's Swayman and whoever else they have. Let's use DeSmith
Corpy.
and use Ottinger. And if they split the rest of the year, games down the middle, and they're both average to whatever you want to call it, who's starting in the playoffs?
I would say that we will get to that next here on the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast.
See how I set that up? Well, then let's talk about a little booze. Founded in 2010, Herman Marshall, Dallas County's first legal distillery since the repeal of Prohibition, located in historic downtown Wiley, Texas, is proud to partner with the Guns N' Hoses Foundation of North Texas on a single barrel expression of its signature straight bourbon whiskey. You're moving me around on the screen there. It's throwing me off. The Guns N' Hoses Foundation is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing immediate financial assistance to the families of fallen police officers and firefighters lost in the line of duty. They're built from the grain up through family, fellowship, and friends. So, for every bottle of single barrel straight bourbon whiskey, Herman Marshall donates 15% of its revenue to the Guns N' Hoses Foundation of North Texas for those who went before. Stop into your closest goody-goody liquors and other fine retailers.
Let's talk about game time. Look, it's not too late. I know Christmas is only a day and an hour away, but you have time. Game time is focused on togetherness this holiday season, which means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it's the perfect gift. So if you're looking for a last-minute gift, you can still get something on Game Time. Tickets to your favorite sporting event, concert, comedy show, theater, and you can get it instantly, electronically, and give that as a gift for this holiday season, and you don't have to fight the lines at the store. In fact, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. It filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets when you are looking for that last-minute present. The all-in pricing, you can toggle this feature to show total upfront, no-surprise fees at checkout. I love that feature personally. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Sam, with some holiday spirit, what time is it?
Game time.
All right. I guess that's a little bit of holiday spirit. I'll give him that. All right. Any other thoughts about this game? We'll get into the chat more, but is there anything that you have burning takes you have to throw out there, or do you want to save it for our chat?
Were you asking him so he would go to break, or were you asking him a real question?
I was asking a real question, but I just wanted to eat up the last 5 seconds.
I have no idea
so
what
we stayed on
that
time.
question was.
The answer is Jake Ottinger
Yeah,
would start the
Ottinger
first game of the playoffs.
I agree.
That was your big chance.
You
You
blew it.
agree?
You got a chance to.
My
it was
big chance happened a long time
hilarious.
ago, and I blew it a long
That was
time
my
ago.
point.
That's why
hilarious
I'm
that
on
John
this side
went
of
into
the
break
camera.
though.
All right. So we're going to use this time to talk about the mat. Oh, you have anything else you want to add on?
No.
Okay.
I thought we were going to the chat. Okay.
No, we're going to do the chat next in our next segment.
We got
so
plenty of Rempe conversation
load
in
up
the chat.
your
Why do we always
Superchats.
have all the chatters when we lose? Now we got good chatters and we won.
Oh, we've got chats.
Okay.
Trust me, we've got good chats. So Matt Rempe was officially suspended yesterday, Sunday, by the Department of Player Safety for 8 games. This is the play, if you missed it on Friday night against the Rangers, where he got caught. They actually suspended him for 2 offenses elbowing, and boarding. So we put together a little still image collage so you can walk it through it. And Luds, we'd love to have your. This is the dump in that started this play. Okay, the puck gets rimmed down the near boards. Okay, go ahead, John. It goes behind the net. You can see that Oettinger goes to try to slow it down. I don't know if he actually gets a piece of it. It came pretty hard around the wall. And look, go back one real quick there, John. I did this one to show you. Look at where Rempe is. Look at where Miro is. Okay, that's the distance. Okay.
About the time Rempe starts speeding up.
You can see that some of my still shots also got the QuickTime player controls in the bottom, so just ignore that. I didn't realize that until just now. So there he is. So Luddy, as Rempe's chasing this right now, before we get to the hit, what should he be doing differently than what he did on this angle as he hunts Heiskanen on the forecheck? Anything?
Everything that he did should be different.
Okay.
Right now, being what you would generally do is you would almost, as you're coming to Miro, you would be going to your left right now and trying to make sure that Miro is below you, and hopefully the puck doesn't get put out of the zone. Or you know what you do is you go in this situation, what you have to do, he's got to take his stick, and he leads with your stick, and you get it out in front. You kind of wrap it around him. You get it tied up on the boards, and you take him. So you basically you're using your stick and your hand as like a lasso. And then your body goes on the other side, and you just say, Miro, you're done.
So you're trying to control
That's
him.
all you're doing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a stupid play.
Trying to have an impact on the play,
Speaking of impact on the next frame,
look how far he is from the boards.
There's the hit. Okay, now I got the next sequences from the other two angles that we had on replay. Okay, so here it is from this angle where you can see the contact.
Can you see? Is it hard to see Miro's number right there, do you think?
And look
I
at
know
that.
he's tall, but maybe he doesn't see it down
Look
there.
at the reflection of the lights as the glass bows.
What is he, 6'9"?
6'9".
And he still has to leave his feet.
Yeah, I was about to say,
look at
they're
that.
not only boarding, look at his skates.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's from that angle. Now, the worst one, the most incriminating is, if that's not bad enough, is this one. Here's Miro going to play the puck. Look, he never alters his positioning. He tries to play it up the near boards.
Oh, yeah.
And there it is right there. That's the moment. It's the elbow up in the neck and then drives him into the boards.
Brutal.
And then look at the boards cave in because thankfully they have some give, because if they were stiffer, he would have been much more hurt. And then he goes down and just collapses him to the ice. Thankfully, Miro gets up.
I mean, there's so many things we can dive into here, but the number one thing that I noticed with Rempe watching him all game is he did this multiple times where he went full speed from blue line in and made a hit, which is like the number one thing.
Go back one, John,
of charging. So he could have got
right
charging on top of it.
So
look at that. That's the moment of full impact.
What you just said,
skates off.
And with the reputation that he had coming into this game, everybody knows who he is, what he does, how
He's
he
been
plays.
suspended already in his career.
And I'm not blaming Miro, but you can go back about 4 frames. You never see Miro's head turn around and look to see where he is. I don't understand that.
John,
You never try. I don't care if it's a good player. An average guy that kind of hits. You don't just try. You know what it reminds me of? I'll be totally honest with you. So I think this started in Canada, and for the young kids, remember when they put the stop sign on the back of the jerseys?
Yes.
Okay. Well, all of a sudden, kids are thinking, "Well, I got a stop sign back here, so I'm not going to get hit." There's always one clown on every team you're going to play against, and you have to learn. Brent Severn. Or I should say Alan May. Alan May and I, years ago, we did hockey camps, and it was about a checking camp. But 3/4 of it was how to take a hit, how to protect yourself on the wall, get your hands up, all this stuff. But the thing is, you never trust anybody that they're going to do the right thing. The stop signs then were like, well, he can't hit me. Well, there's always going to be that big stumbly kid that accidentally hits you and you don't know how to protect yourself on the wall.
Or the idiot that does it.
Big stumbly kid.
Or no, I don't even think that's lack of control.
I don't want to sound like I'm blaming Miro, but you still have to know who you're playing against. Yeah. Miro knew that he was on the ice. Miro knows that he's a meathead, and he does dumb things. And you have to protect yourself and against guys like this.
The only time I did see Miro looking was I think it was the first frame that you showed. He's turning, not the first when Oettinger has it.
There's one after
Any
this,
frame
right there. He glances.
But is he looking at Rempe?
No, he's looking for an out.
See, I think
it's where he's putting the puck.
I think he's aware that Rempe's there, but maybe is that
how many times have you seen Miro go to the wall and that guy is where I'm saying he would be above him to his left, where Miro stops and turns
the other
down.
way. That's what I thought Miro was going to do.
He wants to see if he's more to his left, then what he'll do is he'll tight turn to his right, and he knows he's like a cement truck coming in there, right? He's not going to be able to tight turn.
Wouldn't ordinarily, as you talk about lassoing and just sort of pinning a guy to the boards, don't you think Miro's almost anticipating that, saying he's going to try to pin me? So I'll take the hit and
Rempe. He's not. You shouldn't anticipate. That's my point.
Right, but don't you
have to know who you're playing against?
You wonder if that's what's going in his head of, I will absorb that, thinking he's not going to get checked to the back of the neck and just bump it. I know, and then he's in control.
Yeah, I just think
you're saying that's a mistake to think that.
Well, first off, he's 6'9". If anything's going to hit you in the back of the neck, it might be his belt buckle. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't expect a guy that big that's going to bend down to hit you legally. He's going to follow through. And again, you got to know who you're playing against. But like I said, I don't want to blame Miro on this, but you just at times you have to be aware of your surroundings.
And the crazy thing with Rempe is he was just called up for that game. He hadn't
it was his first game
in the NHL
after being sent down for a bit
in a while, and I think he had a 5-minute game or a 5-minute major earlier. I don't remember what it was for in the season.
I think he got 8 games for that.
I believe it's the 4th time he's gotten a game misconduct in 22 games.
He's only played like 20-some games.
Well, I will say one thing. He was thrown in a tough spot. He came in the league and he got in those fights, and everybody loved him for it, right?
Yeah.
So
he was very popular
what are you
in New
thinking
York
as
City.
a player? This is how I'm going to make a career. Right, so that's when he comes on. That's what he goes for. It's just out of control.
But
it
Luddy,
can't be
you
out of
talked
control.
about this when Toronto was in town. Ryan Reeves is not a dirty player, right? He gets suspended for that check to Darnell Nurse.
Ryan Reeves will never hit you like that.
That's the point. You can be a tough physical presence and not be dirty.
Yeah,
you don't have to do
need
that,
to be in
especially
control.
if you're 6'9".
I just don't. I honestly don't think. I'm using that word very loosely. I don't think he thinks. I don't think he's aware
intentionally
of what. I don't even think that's intentional. I don't think he's going in there to hurt Miro. I just don't think he thinks.
He's just going to try to make a play. And
what he's doing. I'm going to
thing
finish my check.
There were some moments prior to his ejection where he was kind of an impact. He had one scoring chance. He got in on Leon Bichel a couple of times. Drew a penalty. I think if he could either think or control how he checks guys and the angles, he could be a pretty effective player.
It'll be interesting to find out if this is it for him.
Do you think this is the wake-up call?
Oh, I don't know why the last suspension of 8 isn't a wake-up call.
It's just what the Rangers need.
Well,
that's what I mean.
Okay,
like,
so that's my next question. 8 games. Is that enough for you, Sam?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it was. I knew immediately. I thought it was above 5. You don't see a ton of more than that, right? I'm trying to think if anyone has more suspension games this season than 8. I don't know if off the top of my head if there's anybody. So I think 8's a good number.
There's been more.
Yeah, the real question
remember
is,
the Tom Wilson on Oscar Sundqvist?
what was it? Do you remember?
10, I
It was
think.
10.
And
So
he cleaned him out
10
open ice.
Here's the thing. I think
to the head.
if you had said 10, 12, I don't think anybody's complaining about it. So 8's probably good. I wonder with Luds if 8 games is just the most he's suspended, and then we don't see him in the NHL for a little while.
It's going to
anyway.
be tough for him to play the way he needs to play now to stay part of the team or part of a team, because I mean, if he actually starts to think, he may start going. He doesn't become dangerous to play. I don't want to say effective. And if he's not doing that, honestly, if he's not doing that, he probably doesn't arrive on time. And so he may be one of those kind of guys that get caught in between. But who knows? He may come out the first game because I just can't see him calling him up again. That's me. I don't know.
So he has to stay on the NHL roster during his suspension. So that's a roster spot of the 23 active that the Rangers have to. They can't send him down during a suspension. They can send him down afterwards. I thought it was interesting that 8 games was the number because the 8th game of his suspension is when the Dallas Stars play in January.
Or January, yeah.
January 7th at Madison Square Garden, the other half of the 2-game season series with the Rangers. Would you have rather...
Merry Christmas, guys.
I heard this today listening to another show talking about 30 years ago, maybe it's a 7-game suspension because then Dallas gets a chance to respond on the ice themselves. But I think in today's NHL, that's not something they're interested in. if anything, having Rempe suspended for
Wait,
that.
What? You thought they were going to give him a shorter game
No,
so
no,
that
no,
they
no,
could
no,
get
no,
back
no.
to
Back
him?
in the
Back
day.
at him?
No, I heard somebody saying today that they thought that maybe 30 years ago it could have been like, hey, let him be available so Dallas gets their first crack at it.
I like that.
That's not the way the NHL does it
No.
now. If anything, I think it's a real benefit to Dallas in one sense that the next time they play him, because a lot of times a guy does something against one team and then he misses games against another team. It doesn't have that same equivalency.
The best way for the Dallas team to get back at him was at the moment and score 3 goals on their 5-minute major.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But we don't
Talk
want to
about
go
that.
there.
But I will say full credit to roopehintz coming over. He told me told us afterwards in the scrum that he didn't really see the hit, but as soon as he saw Miro down, he lost it and saw red, and he went. I think he broke his stick over Rempe. Team joined in. It was nice that it was right at the Stars bench. I'm sure there was some jabs and some talking from the Stars bench there, and then Miro. I think I said this in the postgame show. Love that he's grabbing his face, he's skating off, and he says, "You know what? No, I'm going to come back. I'm going to circle back around, and I'm going to give Rempe just a few words right face." And he waited. He literally waited until Rempe not only came out of the pile, but made eye contact with him, so he could tell him exactly what he thought of him, which I really liked from.
Lastly,
from
about
mob.
the Rangers here, Chris Kreider was a healthy scratch today. Now we're in the middle of the holiday roster freeze, so if they're planning something, that's the long game here. They also got waxed 5-0 by the New
They
Jersey
waxed
Devils.
themselves.
They put some
up
shots on
12
goal, though,
shots.
Oh,
Markstrom back-to-back 12 save shutouts for the Devils.
Well,
So maybe
this-
the Devils are at least doing a little part of that.
I just go back to, what was it, a month ago, 8 weeks ago, or 6 weeks, whatever it was, when the general manager, Drury, comes out and wants to talk about, trading these two guys.
Trouba,
Yep.
You got your
Kreider.
captain, and you got a guy that is probably pretty big. Kreider's big in the city, and he's been a really good player, 50-goal scorer. And I mean, this is, to me, it's on him. I don't know the inside of thing, what was going on there, and if he was just trying to light a fire, well, he lit a fire, all right.
Well, they after the
it's
Stars
a dumpster
game,
fire right now.
they lost at home to the Hurricanes yesterday, 3-1. Then lost 5-0 today. That's 7 losses in 10 games in December. And then they think about this: the rest of this suspension for Rempe, they have to go to Tampa and Florida to close out December, host Boston, go to Washington, at Chicago, not the hardest opponent, Dallas, then New Jersey, Vegas,
Yikes.
Colorado. That is a
Yikes.
very tough schedule.
So
the next
they'll
3
win
weeks.
2 of those.
You know
I will say I wouldn't mind that healthy scratch from today on this roster in Dallas.
Kreider in Dallas, you'd love that.
Would not mind that. A
I wouldn't
former
mind it
50-goal guy who can tip pucks in.
Of course. I just think there's got to be something. I don't understand why they take him out the game before Christmas. The only way I think you take a guy out of that before the break and the freeze is you didn't want him to play tonight so he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
Because there's already something kind of in place.
Sure what it sounds like, doesn't it?
I don't
Especially
know.
with the fact they played yesterday.
Because I don't know what kind of impact sitting him out when they have 3 or 4 days off for a Christmas break. And it's really low to sit him out in game before Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're going to talk more about this game tonight. Stars beat the Utah Hockey Club 3-2. Chats, Super Chats next.
Before that, let's talk about Sleeper, my favorite fantasy platform and the best fantasy platform out there. Put your ball knowledge or puck knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite, least favorite, or any player will have more or less in their projected stats each week. This week, on Christmas Day, I'm looking at Mr. Patrick Mahomes to have more than 1.5 touchdown passes. I know, playing against my hometown, or not my hometown, but my favorite Steelers team. But the Steelers secondary is pretty much a mess outside of Joey Porter Jr., so I think Mahomes will have it, and then maybe they'll send the Grinch over to Taylor Swift, and the Steelers will get a win, but we'll have to wait on that one. So
Why you got to bring Tay-Tay into this?
she's part of that team, man. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLS STARS to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest, doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.
All right, let's talk about Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get shop-at-home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they do have copycats, But Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, speed, so competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Use their virtual floor designer. Great way to see how they would look in any space. Just take a picture. It's easy. And instantly see how new floors will look in your room. They service their own warranties. It is really a high level of customer service. Plus, they did our main studios. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details. All right. This is Festivus for all you Seinfeld fans out there.
I love it.
And so it's time for the Super Chat, a.k.a. maybe the airing of grievances. And then we're going to see if Sam can pin Luddy during the feats of strength. But we'll start with the airing of grievances. John, if you would, please.
We have got a couple bing bongs ready for you guys.
All right.
Where's my bing? Oh, there it is.
Bing bong.
All right. This is going to need to be made a little bigger on our
Yeah, John,
screen.
can you blow that up a
We
little
have
bit?
Blackwell DeSmith tonight from I Love Misty 1985. Always great to see a strong game to DeSmith to send us into the Christmas break with a win. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Happy Christmas.
If you're British.
If you're reading
That's
the book.
a good tweet. Or what is
Learned
this?
it.
This is a chat.
Super
That's a
chat.
good chat.
Super
Yeah, it's a
chat.
great super chat.
Good
Yeah.
super chat.
Thanks, I love Misty.
I thought Casey DeSmith was very, very strong. Did exactly what you need your goalie to do. Make big saves, timely ones. And for a guy who hadn't started a game in 3 weeks and had a flu bug in there, he looked really sharp.
He was sharp from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yep. He was good.
Bing bong.
Ardell, Blackwell, and Bork. R.I.P. Bing Bong the Elephant. Spoiler alert. Skill players play better with skill players, ? Bork has earned more time on that line. Bork's back checking impressed me tonight as well.
I think his brain is wired to play like he's a skilled guy, so their brain is wired to kind of communicate with a guy. And again, I said this from the beginning. You got to give him a little time because he's got to get used to the two guys he's playing with, and they've got to get used to him. And I think especially with Rempe right now is he's understanding kind of like what we talked about other guys that were there, understanding the speed that Hintz has, and now he's able to. I think he knows he has to do things quicker as far as moving the puck and advancing the puck to him and get him in the right areas. And even if you got to hang on to an extra second, to me, it's almost sometimes you may have to hang on to it for an extra second to let him get clear of who's ever trying to hook and hold him so he gets into open space.
I want to turn this to you and ask you a question for probably the first time on this show.
You've never asked me a question
I don't
before?
think so.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you think Bork fits on that top line?
I think he can.
I am dangerous.
Thank you, Maverick. I almost had a question for Luds, but to answer your question and sort of throw it back in his direction is, I wonder what that assist does for his game, for his confidence. Because, again, I talked to Bork Friday morning before the Rangers game, and he was, I said this on our show Friday, he was very honest about his game. He wasn't happy with his offensive contributions. And look, I don't think one assist is going to completely transform him, but my thought is, and Luds, tell me if you think I'm completely full of it on this point. I had to qualify that one because otherwise I know I'm walking into a corner there. Every incremental bit of confidence boost for a young player like that has to be like worth its weight in gold.
Well, it's confidence.
Yeah.
John and I put a little video together, I think, what was that, a couple of games ago, John? And we ended it. Remember, he had that scoring chance coming up the middle of the ice. And
Bork one?
Bork, yeah. I know you've already checked out and you're on your planes, trains, and automobiles crusade already, but I'll just leave you alone.
Take 4 modes of transportation to get
Excellent
home
movie,
tomorrow.
though. Good drop.
Awesome.
Good drop.
Those aren't pillows. The part that I believe is when there was a turnover in the offensive zone a couple of games ago. He got a chance out of it. Then he made another little play out of it. And I think all those things, they're saying to himself that he can play with these two guys. And again, I think it's easier to play with Robo than it is to play with Hintz, only because of speed difference kind of thing. So I think every game he's putting one game on top of the other, and his confidence will start to grow. And then maybe we're going to see the Bork that everybody has been talking about.
Is he almost like he's a high-end type worker bee? in that style of play. Like he's not going to dangle guys the way that you would expect Matt Duchene to do, but can he? You were talking about he thinks his skill away. Sean's talked about his IQ being very high. Can he be a guy that plays really well with skilled players while still being like that Blackwell, Stankoven, high engine type player?
Yeah, he can, but I just think that he has to think at a faster pace. Only because that playing in the American League isn't quite as fast as here. And you're playing with, like I said before, you're playing with one of the fastest guys in the NHL or quickest. So your decisions have to just be a little bit quicker. And I'm sure that's all things that he's processing now.
Yeah.
Nothing to add other than
I was asking the question.
Okay.
I wanted you two to go after it.
No, all right. So you're playing host then?
Yeah.
All right. What do you got, host?
Well, I don't know. What are we doing?
Okay.
Is there a super chat?
We're in the middle of the chats right now.
Yeah. Let's hit the super. Do we have another one?
We don't have super chats, but the grievances came right in. And do you guys want to guess what the main grievance is right now?
I hope it doesn't have anything to do with the PP.
Stars power play. Oh, it's Steve Spott, who
I was
actually
hoping it was
got
going to be the
clipped
Utah,
by
Arizona.
a puck on the side of the head on the bench tonight. That did not feel good at all.
Yeah, that's a
People that are allowed to continuously fail at their job and not held to account. But they are constantly. I think that's the biggest misnomer here is that people think that because the Stars power play hasn't been very good this year, that there's no accountability from the coaching staff, which is patently absurd because anytime they have a bad game on the power play, which granted lately has been more than one or two, the fans lose their mind. And if you don't think that the coaches, that gets back to them, they're not living in a bubble. Luds, they hear it, even if they try to avoid some of it.
They don't care, though. They don't care what we say.
They hear it through us.
Well,
we bring it up.
I mean, today, at the end of his morning interview in Utah, Pete DeBoer was asked, do you have any plans for the Christmas break, any traditions you like to follow? He said, nope. Looking forward to having a couple of days away from you guys. Talking about the media. He laughed and walked off.
He wasn't talking about us. He was talking about you.
He was talking about...
Because, more about Sam.
He was talking
you're
to
the only
Heike,
two guys that are in there talking to him.
the ones that are there. Right.
Not me.
No, but I think it's anybody that keeps asking the questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I also think, and something that you do get from Pete DeBoer is the sort of dispute that we played in the pregame show when Heike asked him about power play changes. When he gets a little, I don't know what the word is, a little defensive or
agitated.
Yeah. I think that usually is a sign that there really is something that they've been dealing with.
Yeah.
And that the question from the journalist is onto something. It's not completely out of left field.
Well, I will say even fans. I was just going to say we, but fans too. Like we're not watching the game and not paying attention. So when there's something that's brought up 400 times by every reporter and different writers and fans are talking about, it's probably accurate that it's actually happening, right? There's plenty of times where you think that there's something going on and the coaches have a better idea of it, but there's a reason that he gets that way. And I agree with you. I think that he defends his team to the death, which I give him credit for, and his coaching staff. But the when you start to see that, you wonder if now maybe we start to see a couple of changes because they are fully understanding that that's a real thing.
Yeah.
The only thing we talked about in the pregame show, the thing that with Pete and Sam was talking to him when he sent us that little video recording or audio, is the part where I think Sam, you asked him about the scoring. Is no, we're good. We're going to score some goals. I don't like that part of it because you're not scoring, so you have to do something different. You have to change something. And then I think when other players hear it, that we're going to score, it doesn't really tell them that they have to raise their urgency level. Like, we're going to score. We're going to score. Well, you may have to get in a little tighter to the net, or you have to be in uncomfortable situations and pay the price a little bit more to get off the schneid, so to speak. I just think that they play a little bit too much on the perimeter. They rely on their passing ability. They want the highlight reel goal. And when they're not coming, I think, and again, I said it earlier too, like there's a lot of really good pre-scouting, the entries and things like that. So you may have to tweak something, do something different, because now what teams will be looking at from the penalty killing thing, what are they doing that we're going to do now against this particular team? So you kind of might have to tweak something.
It's funny, lads. That's the answer I was trying to get out of him. If you listen to what you're talking about, I asked like 4 questions in a row because I was trying to get him to say we need to go harder than net because we've all agreed that they do. And I really believed he was going to say that. And then I finally just said, do you think you're making life, or can you make life harder on opposing goalies? And he said, of course, but he was kind of laughing it off. And I was like, I'm really asking because I really believe that this team doesn't go hard enough to those areas sometimes. And I don't think it's like, I'm not blaming them. It's not like they're doing something wrong. I think it's just a mindset. And so I wanted Pete to say that. So maybe the players hear it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But he's careful and calculated with much of what he says. Just like when Sam asked him at practice on Sunday yesterday about Matt Dumba, what are your plans when you have 8 defensemen? And he said, we'll worry about that when we get there. That doesn't mean that the coaching staff is deferring and they haven't thought about it. It's he doesn't want to put that in the public because what happens if, knock on wood, somebody else suffers an injury or gets sick and suddenly you don't have 8? So now you put some narrative out there in the press and in the public that isn't even a reality once he is available. So he's doing, story control before it becomes a story.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is, for everybody that's listening to this, we didn't mention Steve Spott's name once. And the reason we didn't mention it, because it does come from the top. It comes from the head coach. So it's not really, I mean, yes, it is on the guy that runs that thing. He's part of that. But the head coach can easily tell who's ever running the PK or the power play or whatever. He can tell the goalie coach, like, I want them to start doing this. We need them to do this. So if it's continuing the trend and you don't see a lot of changes, well, obviously they believe in it. And for all we know, it's going to change next or when they come back from Christmas and they're going to roll like they did last year. But again, there is different personnel, in different spots. You're missing Tyler Sagan. You're missing the other guy that retired. So I'm just saying that there is other responsibility, people that are responsible. Like I said, we don't, you know what? It's Christmas time. Joe Pavelski. There you go.
Oh, boo.
There we go. So anyway, I'm just saying that, I get that you can kind of point your finger at Potter, but the other guy's got the ability to kind of tweak things if he wanted to.
We have another super chat. Let's get to that next here on the DLLS Dallas Stars postgame show. Let's talk about being the diehard. Check this out. This is the Skyline DLLS shirt. I went the wrong way there. Just wearing it for the first time. It arrived the other day.
You're getting some comments about it in the chat.
It's a nice shirt. I love the design with the Dallas Skyline and DLLS. This is the shirt you can get for free when you sign up to be a diehard. Or you could say, yeah, thank you.
It looks a little tighter than it did in the pregame show.
Yeah,
Were you
maybe
having
too many
cake
cookies.
up there?
Too many cookies. This
Cookies
shirt
and
is
cake
one of the many options that you can use as your free shirt when you sign up to be a diehard. You get a promo code for one free t-shirt from the DLLS merchandise shop. There are some of the options down at the bottom. Sam was wearing a sweatshirt. You have to buy those. You can't get a free promo code for that.
Sweating in here
but
now.
you also took off that sweatshirt because you wanted to show what you have going on.
I got a
No,
lot
no, we
going
don't
on.
need that.
I got a lot going on here.
But think about this. In addition to that, diehard's subscription, you get the access to all the writing. Sam and Sean for the Stars. Tim Cato for the Mavs. You've got Clarence and Joe for the Cowboys. You've got Jeff Wilson for the Rangers. Great coverage. Your one-stop shop for all your DFW sports. Plus, access to the diehard Discord channel. Get in and talk to... Sam was in there answering questions about my quality scoring chances during the game. Use the QR code on the screen. If you're listening on the audio podcast later, go to alldlls.com and sign up today. All right. We do have another Bing Bong, so let's get to it.
Bing bong.
Speaking of Joe Pavelski, we have a little... Let's see, that's a Lundqvist and the year the Stars made it to the Stanley Cup, but finished second to the New Jersey Devils. Hey, Luds from Wisconsin, from Eric Fote. I hope I'm saying that right. Great win. Also, the power play looked good. Great puck movement. Also from the Appleton area. You know the Appleton area?
I do.
Are they good at diagnosing power play performances?
Apparently not.
That's not entirely true because there was one power play that generated some really good momentum, and they scored 5-on-5 after that.
Yeah, and that's part of it. Like, as long as you create momentum. The problem that I have is there's a lot of exterior movement of the puck around the perimeter, and when they want to skate with the puck, it's just a little bit easier on the defenders to to kind of follow the play. And then when they get the pass, they take too much time. And it allows me, if I'm a penalty killer, to get into that shot lane. And I think they can kind of speed things up. So,
By the
Appleton,
way, Appleton,
yeah, just
not known for their power play prowess.
no, well, Fond du Lac area. I mean, not Appleton so much, but
I love Misty said we should not call it 0-0 as the year the Stars finished second to the Devils in the Stanley Cup.
got a
It's
point
the year
there.
the Stars could have won the Cup had Luds not retired.
yeah, I don't know why we're always saying 0-0 for the Stanley Cup.
Come on,
Because
lads.
it's 2000. Who else? Who was 0-0? Anybody?
Well, no,
weird?
I'm saying, but it was 99.
Right. 99 was the year they won it.
Talking about
Yeah.
the next year.
Why are we
2000?
talking about 2000? We didn't.
Because
Because
win
it
you
was-
should have come back and
because
you
it was
should have
literally
knocked Arnie out of the series.
5.00.
Luds,
Yes.
I'm still mad at you for that.
You were a Jersey
I was
fan.
at the game
Ardell goes,
that they wanted.
Luds likes Sheboygan more than Appleton.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Sheboygan.
Sheboygan.
Lots of notable people from Appleton. Quick look at the
Isn't Sheboygan
Oh
from
my
the
gosh! Did
Charlie
you just
movie?
Google Appleton?
He did.
Yeah,
Sheboygan.
no, I knew that off the top of my head.
I never heard of her.
It's a common knowledge that Willem
He played
Dafoe
his
is
Asker
from
off.
Appleton.
Sorry, I'm just
How about Mason Appleton? You guys want him?
just reeling it off right now.
He's not from Appleton.
His name's Appleton.
Oh, his just okay.
Do
That's the
you think
confusion
that
there.
people that have the last name of Appleton are from Appleton?
Yeah, that's what I said.
You're losing the plot here, John.
That's what it has to mean, right?
Oh, we lost him. All right.
We have more grievances if you guys want them.
We'll do a couple grievances before we do man of the match. And we have to Herman Marshall coming up here too.
Well,
as well.
the big one going on right now is people talking about concession prices at
That's
AAC.
what I saw. 2 hot dogs, 2 waters, $40. What do you think, Luds?
What?
2 hot dogs, 2 waters, $40 at the AAC. I think they're talking about it because isn't Utah cheap?
Here's the grievance that Jason wrote in. Ryan Smith's Utah Hockey Club
Yeah, there you
charges around $2 to $3 concessions, while the Stars have more expensive concessions. They do.
They do.
They also don't have the obstructed views, and the Utah has got to do a 2 or 3 year renovation plan to open up more seats that can be seen and get that proper sloping where
I like
they
the idea, though.
had to block. But no, yeah, it's interesting.
Like, I imagine you sell more by making it actually affordable. Like you can't go to a game and have dinner at a game anymore unless you're spending.
No, you can.
50,
It's just
60
it's going to
bucks.
cost you a lot.
Yeah.
yeah. But it's not just the AAC. I'm not defending yay or nay here. I'm just saying that it's like airport prices.
Luds.
They have no idea what the rest of the world's market is.
I'm
Luds.
trying to stay out of this, and you're going to try to get me into
Luds,
this.
you're
He is.
sitting at the AAC watching the Stars game. I know you never ever
He's
do
not
that,
eating.
but you're sitting there. What are you eating?
Miller Lite.
Can't be
All
nothing.
the free food up in the alumni suite.
He's up there with
and the
I
beer.
just said Miller
well,
Lite.
That's a dumb question.
Owen's in the media room and Luds is in the.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was
He's
a
not
alumni
eating.
room
He
out
doesn't
there.
eat. He's drinking Miller
Chicken
Lite.
and salad and Miller Lite and what
He
else
eats.
you
He's a
need?
big turkey Lunchable guy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to chirp the guy. You're probably an Uncrustables guy.
No.
Really? That was over the line?
No, yeah, not an Uncrustables guy. It's just a waste, like give me the crust. You know
I'm
what
not
saying?
afraid of the crust either. I will
Yeah.
give you that.
Get that crust up in here.
Eric also texted in on the chat, Wisconsin Timber Rattlers is right. I don't even know what that is. We're talking about something in there.
Is that a hockey team or is that a baseball team?
I think baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be baseball. Yeah.
Luds eats vitamin D milk. Thanks, Ardell. All right. So you have any more grievances you want to share, John, or was it all about the concessions?
This has pretty much been the situation since the
grievances
prices were
came
brought
up.
up. So
Okay. So let's move on because we don't have a ton of time left to the Herman Marshall marquee moment of the game, as you can pick up your favorite bottle at your closest goody liquor store.
Go ahead, Sam. You start.
He wants. What's your moment of the game?
Yeah.
Not
Moment of
man
the game.
match.
Oh
moment.
man, I wasn't ready for that.
See, we caught him.
I
We
do.
caught him.
I do. Wyatt Johnston making that move and making that pass to Jamie Benn. I think that changed the game. I believe
That made
the
it
Star-
3-1.
I believe the Stars, if they were in a 1-goal game, like we said in the third period, this
Good.
game is a lot scarier.
Perfect. I was going with Jamie Benn. Same play. I just think that goal that spread it out by 2 goals going into the locker room for Utah kind of took some hope away from them.
It turned into the game-winning goal too because of the early goal in the third period. So the Herman Marshall marquee moment of the game. For every bottle of single barrel straight bourbon whiskey, Herman Marshall donates 15% of its revenue to the Guns N' Hoses Foundation of North Texas for those who went before. Stop in to your closest goody-goody liquor store to find your favorite bottle. All right. While we continue here, let's do man of the match. Who's your, you already said Jamie Benn for the moment. Is he your man of the match tonight?
No, I got Casey DeSmith. I think he was important near the end of the game, but more importantly at the start of the game when Dallas had to kind of get their feet underneath them. Some big saves. And like you said earlier, not having played in 3 weeks. And I just thought he allowed the Stars to hang around long enough to grab the lead.
24 saves, 26 shots, 4th win of the season. And Sam, I thought you made a great point earlier of he's had a lot more quality starts than he's had bad starts.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you need for your backup. Give the team a chance to win. Now, last year, Scott Wedgwood, remember 2 years ago, Wedgwood played really well, but didn't have the wins to show for it in his win-loss record. Stars sometimes didn't help him out with that. Last year, he had a lot more victories, and I think he was rewarded for his play with a better record. That's what you ask from your backup. Give the team a chance to win in usually less than ideal circumstances.
Yeah, that's exactly what he does. And he has a calming presence that I've mentioned a few times that I think is a big part of that because he's going to make the saves too, and he has done a great job of that. But when you look back there and your guy looks like he's in full control, it's a very good feeling.
When you look at the 2 goals against, 2 deflected pucks
From right in front of him.
That's you're not upset at all about 2 goals against when that's the circumstance, right? It wasn't bad rebounds, wasn't bad positioning. It was just
And he stole a few.
and he stole
That second period or whatever, that little chaotic play
that
around
early
the net.
part of the second. He made 2 huge saves early.
That's what you need.
All right. For me, I'm just trying to think of Colin Blackwell.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I would go Blackwell because he was the best Dallas Star early in the game other than Casey DeSmith. And he was the driver of the attack when some of the other lines just weren't going early in the game. And if he doesn't get that early goal, give him the lead, they're behind. Maybe Utah rallies a bit more because, remember, Utah never led in this game. And that was very important against a team that should be the more tired of the 2 teams.
It's a veteran guy that I didn't think he deserved to be sat out when he was sat out for
Early in the
5,
year.
6 games
Yep.
or something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't think that. I was kind of questioning why he was out, but whatever. But it just shows you how a veteran guy comes back from that situation and understands how you're not going to sit me out again. And he's just doing and now all of a sudden he seems to like a go-to guy, for Pete when there's, someone not playing well on the line, you get him out there. So, yeah, I think he's a good example for the young guys, and he's a good example for the group, the way that he goes about his business in a hockey game.
In this television show called Shoresy, I don't know if I mentioned it to you guys.
Yeah, you may have.
They're looking to build their team, and they don't just go out and get skilled. They go out and get the gyms, the 3 tough guys, and they send them out there, and they say, who's going to set the tone? They say it with some foul language. I joke around about that, but it really that's a very hockey thing. You need to, if your lines aren't going with one guy, I mean, look at Blackwell's game overall. He's crashing the net, literally flew into the net on a play. He scores the goal. He draws, I think, 2 penalties. It just drags your guy into the fight. And we've talked about how Jamie Benn used to be the guy who drags you into the fight. It sometimes needs to be a different guy on certain nights. It's not always going to be your captain. And Colin Blackwell dragged them into the fight today.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be with, the guys that would go out and start fights. And you would, but I think in today's game, it's a tone changer. You're not going to go out there and just pummel somebody, and that doesn't happen anymore. I shouldn't say that. Occasionally it does, but there's guys that they lead by the way they play. And what happens on the bench is like, that's how you're supposed to play. And then guys are bumping each other. They come back and they got somebody to rally around. And when there's a player, I use Daryl Sador at times. And, Hitchcock would always yell down to the bench, Sid, I can't say that on here anymore. Sid, get up here. I can't find any forwards that want to play. And so Sador would go up there, not being a forward, and he'd go up there and he'd do what he does. And it was to create a little momentum, but it was to piss off the guy that he took his spot. And so coaches find different ways to motivate players in different moments of the game.
last thing for me, guys, is the fact that the games are all done until Friday. So you look at the updated NHL schedule or standing, excuse me, and while it is only game 33, Dallas Stars are back in a playoff spot because of the win tonight. Now it's the second
Game time.
It's the second wild card, 40 points. Vancouver's one ahead of them, but they are only 2 points behind the Colorado Avalanche with 3 games in hand. So they can still get back into a divisional spot with a couple of wins. However, though, oh, yeah, we have 1 minute, don't we? Or actually, we don't. Yep. So we'll do the fast channel thing and then finish this thought in a second. Thanks to everyone who joined our television platforms. Make sure to like and subscribe here on the pod and check out alldls.com. All right, now back to my standings talk, which is they are 11 points, Luds, behind the Winnipeg Jets, 3 games in hand. That seems a bit more substantial. Now, again, Winnipeg had that insane start. Then they kind of cooled off for a bit. Now they're starting to heat up again.
You have 40% power play going on right now.
Makes a difference.
That'll help.
They're also a plus 44. Here's the weird thing. Stars have a plus 20 goal differential because their defense, goaltending, their penalty kill has been so great. 20-13 through the first 33 games. It's not a bad record. There's just some really high-performing teams in the division right now.
Well, in the West, I mean, I think you're seeing Colorado, Edmonton get to where
both have won 3 in a row.
Where you kind of expected them to be. Winnipeg, I don't think anybody came into this season thinking they were this good, but they're obviously for real. They've got arguably, best goaltender, maybe top 2 or 3 goaltender. They got Morrissey who's playing well. They've got some guys that are playing really well. So it's going to be tough, and you're going to ultimately at the end of the season, you're picking your own poison depending on how you play, who you're going to face, and you're going to face somebody good in the first or second round, regardless of what it is. So, I think right now Dallas just they've got to get their game put together so that when you hit the 20 to 15 game mark left in the season, you're feeling good about yourself and you kind of head into the playoffs on the right frame of mind.
I was going to make the point, as you said, about picking your poison, that the Stars, the playoffs started today. The Stars would go to Winnipeg for the first round because they'd be the second wild card. Winnipeg would be the top seed in the West. But think about it from this perspective. Of the 8 teams in a playoff spot right now, is there an easy matchup? Vancouver, Los Angeles is playing great. Edmonton, Vegas, Colorado, Minnesota, Winnipeg.
I would take Minnesota or LA. And that's not a
Minnesota's kind of coming a little bit back down.
I'm not sure which one. Yeah, I'm not sure how real they are.
But think about that.
But
those are the top 8.
Yeah, it's not good.
None of them are schlubs at all. They're all good teams.
When you say Minnesota this morning, or was that yesterday's morning, whatever, the whole Kreider thing, I'm thinking, I wonder if he could go to Minnesota.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, because
they're 4-6 right now in their last 10. They did win tonight,
might
though.
Fit in. I mean, Kaprizov is pretty much doing everything on his own. He's got other guys there, but I would think a guy that plays in the crease would be a great guy for Kaprizov because he does so many things. He finds ways to get to the puck. And
think of if you had Zuccarello, Kaprizov, and the net front guy.
That's
that
scary.
would be dangerous, and the Wild definitely be looking for that. But there's going to be – that's the last thing, real quick, if we have the moment you guys want to do it before we sign off tonight, is the Stars are one of many teams that are buyers. The question of when, right? I think all the fans, because of the Sagan news, want them to do something now. Mm-hmm. And I get it, especially when you're in the wild card spot or outside looking in. But Jim Nill has constantly said if you pull the trigger too early, you play your hand, and then if something else happens, you have no other cards to play. So you kind of want to be careful not to play too early. I agree. Luds has said this before, and I really think so. I like an earlier trade than a deadline one because it gives them more time to acclimate, get comfortable, chemistry, all those things. But I certainly understand the other side of it.
I think you also have to know that you have to give guys a period of time to see if they can fit into that. Well, let's use Maverick. Can he ultimately be that guy that we're looking for that plays up there with that line, which says, okay, well, maybe we don't need a forward. That's our priority. Maybe we need a guy in the back end. So and again, what's the cost of getting that kind of a player, which is important because they're going to have to look and say, are we going to look at this in 3 years from now and go, man, what did we do that for? Are we at the point where we are a true contender, and we're going to pull the trigger on this? Because otherwise, I think they're going to stand pat and say, you know what, we came into this season, we thought we were going to be one of the top 4 teams. Let's just say. Now we're like, maybe we're one of the top 6 teams. Does that change your line of thinking? Say we're not going to sell the farm right now for something that may not help us unless it's the right guy.
I have no proof of this, just me being around the team and a feel and my own opinion. I truly believe this team is waiting out to see what Tyler Seguin's window looks like, and that is a number 1 priority for them. If they believe he can come back with a few weeks of time before the season, I think that is a priority that they want to do. Again, I don't have a lot of backup to this, but I just really think that they want that window, and they are going to wait that out. Not the whole time, obviously, you can't. But if you look in February, middle of February, and you're seeing, okay, maybe he's on pace for more of that 5 month, he's not going to be back, they make a move. If they're looking at it and it's 4 months and he's going to have 3 weeks of ramp up time, I just think that's a big part of what they look at, and they maybe don't push that money forward.
I think they're going to wait till that time period anyway, because of what I said earlier. But I think it would be extremely optimistic to think that Seguin's going to be ready on the shorter end of the rehab. I'm not saying it's going to take 6 to 7 months or anything like that, but this is a major procedure. Even if they had good news that it wasn't worse than it was, it's still a bad injury, and it's going to take a while, and they're not going to rush him back too early, because this is long-term, whether it's playing career, quality of life afterwards.
Absolutely.
You're not going to mess with that too soon. Plus, if you do want to use that LTIR space, you have to have him stay off until the playoffs. Otherwise, you've got to fit him under the cap. And if you make any acquisitions where you use that LTIR money, then you're in trouble, because then you can't fit him. So I think that they're just going to be patient. They're going to look at what happens, because again, Luddy, it's December 23rd. 2 months from now will be February 23rd. It's still 2 weeks before the deadline. So a lot can happen in 2 months.
There's another team that having a tire fire, and that's Buffalo. I told you about that the other day.
They got a win tonight, surprisingly.
Well,
yes. Play it again, John.
Yeah, well, not Uka, but there's another guy there that I think may fit in well, and that's
89
Tuck. I just think, and he's making $4 million. He's got 1 year left on the deal. Speed. I think he kind of fits the mold of what this team is, but
has
again,
a relationship with Pete DeBoer from Vegas.
I just think that he would be a nice player, but again, they may be thinking, no, we're in the defenseman. We don't know what they're thinking.
Curious. I was telling you a thought I had about Patrick Laine and teasing you, but because you were teasing me about it the other day. Would you rather, if you were adding a player to go, and again, Maverick Bourque might show that in the next 2 months that he can adapt and be a really good complementary piece to that line. If you were going to add a player via trade to go with Hintz and Robertson, would you rather have a player that plays like Joe Pavelski, Merry Christmas, and plays at the speed that Jason Robertson tends to play at? Or would you rather have a guy like Alex Tuck or somebody of that speed that can play at Roope-Hintz's pace?
Yeah, and see, there's the difference. Is if you put Tuck on that line with Roope, you're kind of leaving Robo in the dust at times, right? Because they've got a different gear. And
is that good though? Not to leave Robo in the dust, but does that help Hintz?
I think, well, to me, when we saw Wyatt playing with Roope, you're seeing Robo come into the frame a lot later because they're playing north and they're going straight to where they go.
Yeah.
That play that was made by Wyatt tonight to Jamie, those are the kind of plays where Robo would come into play, where you're buying Robo time to get into that spot, because there's a different pace of the game. And I said earlier this year, there's times where with Rope and Wyatt out there, we're down on Wyatt, or sorry, on Robo, but he doesn't have the same speed as some of these guys, so he's not in the right spot. Whereas when he was playing with Joe or somebody else like that, were guys that would pull up, kind of slow it down, then he finds the holes, and JP was able to hit him in them holes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to find the right
Jason Kidd.
Merry Christmas, Joe Pavelski, by the way. There we go.
That was
I was over there waiting. I had to throw it in there.
By the way, the chat said to John, be careful you don't drop the bell.
I did almost drop it on the last hit. So
it was a very enthusiastic one.
By the bell.
Do you think that as you were talking about that, having Robo have somebody like that speed to create, Rope backs people off, and then there's space for a 2-man game, Robo and whoever, that really benefits Jason Robertson?
Well, I think, he's got to be able to get into the holes.
Yes.
He's got to get into that spot in that high slot area where the hole would be. Again, it kind of depends on the team that they're playing also. So, I'm hoping, I don't know, I hope Robo's not going to find another gear between now and then. He is who he is. But I just want pucks to start going in for him. I think we got to see puck, but he's got to get, some quality chances for him to go in.
Yep. And there's a long time, Sam, between now and then. You're still giggling about something, and I don't know if it has anything to do with us or is it just the chat that you're grossed out by?
I think it's past his bedtime.
Is it the same thing you think I'm laughing at?
It probably has to do with the toilet humor that's going on in the chat right now, which, again,
are you
not
guys
saying
reading
no.
chat stuff? Is that what?
No, I'm listening to you, which is even funnier, I think.
What now?
Nothing. Let's go to Christmas. Let's have Christmas now.
Okay.
Christmas time.
So to wrap things up tonight, we will be off for the next 3 days, which is great for all of us, especially here on the show. Not because we don't like each other, but let's face it, a couple of mental days off won't be a bad thing for anybody, right? Come back refreshed, happy to see each other. And so we aren't
I don't know
back
about refreshed. I mean, we got 72 hours on.
I need
So
a
you-
Miller Lite.
You
Flight
got
time.
a Christmas Eve day to party.
Lud's is
You've got
working
Christmas.
harder
You've
over
got
the break.
Boxing Day, which is a big party day.
Yeah.
So maybe Lud
Might
needs
need
a
a day
detox
off.
on Friday.
I was doing some cooking.
We will be back on Friday for a pregame show. Friday at 7:30. Really? Is it 7:30?
I don't even know who the hell we're playing.
Is it a late game
No,
on Friday? No, that's
I
not
think
right.
It's a 7:00 game.
6:15 maybe on Friday?
Anybody know? Anybody want to chat that in?
I think that was
7
left
o'clock
over from
game
today.
Yeah.
Apparently
so,
these two
it
bozos
is
don't know
6:15.
anything. up here.
6:15. So 6:15 pregame show because the Stars are hosting the Minnesota Wild. Remember, Dallas, I thought, really played well in Minnesota the first meeting this year. And they showed at the time, I remember the Minnesota media afterwards talking about how the Wild really, for as good a start as they've had, showed they were that lacking and missing some things. Luddy was just talking about they could really do well adding a Chris Kreider type. Most people could. I think, as Sam, you mentioned, that's maybe a favorable matchup. That doesn't mean that they're going to be an easy out. But I like the way they played against the Wild in the first game. We'll get to see their first home game against Minnesota here on Friday.
Yeah, it'll be a tough game. Welcome some skill and a hot team. That's what the Stars are facing a lot of right now. Is not necessarily the best teams in the league, but some of the hottest.
You make it uncomfortable for Kaprizov. You're on the right path.
Of course, remember, they were missing three pretty important players.
Yeah.
Eriksson Ek was out. Brodin was out.
Zook was out.
Zuccarello was out, right?
Yeah,
So
when he
that-
got cut.
It was a big chunk of their core of their team. So expect an even tougher game. And, again, yes, they've been struggling a bit. They did win tonight. They beat the Blackhawks. So take that for what you will. So because we have 3 days off, I'm going to send you home tonight and over the next few days with a little bit of our Christmas message from the show. And it's sort of a call to action from the diehards and all of our viewers and listeners. What do you want from the Stars this Christmas? You can tweet us that to the @DLS Stars Twitter account. Again, on Twitter/X. I preferred calling it Twitter. You can also, and we encourage this, tweet us any Stars-related gifts that you receive on Christmas morning or any part of Christmas Day, or even if you open a present or two on Christmas Eve. If you get a Stars shirt like Sam's, if you get DLLS gear for Christmas,
Oh, that'd be rad.
definitely hit us up with that. But those are the things we would love to see over the next few days. Well, we take a short hiatus for the holiday, just like the players, and then we will be back on Friday. I think that's about a good way to wrap it up. John, do you have anything to play us out tonight?
No.
All right.
Happy
he's not-
Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Ho,
Down
ho,
Hawk City.
ho. Let's go.
Merry Christmas.
We all silly like the mayor.